What's up, everybody? How is everybody doing on a dreary, dreary Saturday night? I just saw this, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong. Is that Tennessee coach Jeremy Pruitt? Has anybody actually seen what that guy's doing? What is he thinking? He's got one of those gaiters on, but he's got it pulled up over his head. Well, it really doesn't matter at this point. Tennessee's getting their ass whipped. So maybe Georgia's not as overrated as people had assumed they were. And maybe Tennessee was a little overrated. I mean, Missouri, South Carolina, come on. That's not a very tough schedule to start your season. And then game 3, have to go into Athens and face Georgia. And who really knows? Hey, Kim, how is it? It's been a good day. Very happy birthday to my granddaughter, Chastity. I did get to spend a little bit of time with her today and my great-granddaughter, Ashley. But there was so much noise. Oh, my gosh. It was horrible. But Tennessee, right now there's 4 minutes left in the game, and they're down 44-21. Hey, who cares? But somebody definitely needs to show Jeremy Pruitt how you wear a gaiter. You don't do this. Come on, Pruitt. My God. Come on, man. So hopefully I'm not going to be the only one making fun of, now my hair's all messed up. Oh, I think I can survive it. So how's everybody's weekend been so far? We've got some brutal weather on its way. And so batten down the hatches. We're going to spend a few minutes here before Nick Saban attempts to go 21-0 against his former assistants as Alabama is going to take on Ole Miss. I guess the biggest high school football news other than Red Bank being in quarantine was South Pittsburgh traveling over to Decatur last night and dropping a game to Meigs County. Coach Jason Fitzgerald, a longtime friend of mine. In fact, I dated his cousin for a little while. And South Pitt went over there and went back over to Marion County with a defeat. Condolences to Chris Goforth, the man on ESPN for the Chattanooga Mocs. And he hosts a podcast called Mocs on the Mic. Jim Reynolds is the voice of the Mocs, period. End of discussion. But what Chris Goforth does for that university, he does play-by-play on all of the ESPN platform broadcasts for the university. And he also does Friday Night Rivals on the CW Chattanooga with Quake McMahon, but his mom passed, and condolences to him. My dear friend David Stevenson, who just a couple of weeks ago underwent an angioplasty, yesterday lost his mom. And there will be a service this coming Friday night at the Gathering at Pine Grove Road, and to a David Stevenson, who is now with the National Association of Christian Athletes, former athletic director and head basketball coach at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Down to 3 minutes left. I think Georgia's put in their scrubs. Florida got beat today by Texas A&M. LSU got beat by Missouri. But when you lose as many people as LSU lost, it is World Mental Health Awareness Day. So keep that in mind, please. Please think about those folks who are struggling and throw up prayers, positive thoughts, positive energy, whatever you want to do. But keep that in mind. The lack of mental health help is sad, to say the least. What I wanted to do something tonight, we'll get more into the political crap next week because there's enough. I know they had the big parade down in Walker County today. Now, there was a local high school or a North Georgia high school who had their own little parade prior to their football game last night, and I found it kind of repulsive that the school administration would allow that. Just saying. Just saying. But they're their own little separate entity off in the wide, wide world, all on their own. So they get to do what they want to do. So more power to you. More power to you. But I think it's despicable that was allowed to take place. And that's just my 2 cents. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Talk radio's been around Chattanooga for a long, long time now. And there have been many, many, many voices that you have heard. Occasionally, you've heard mine on local talk radio. Either with the Coca-Cola Red Zone, or then at ESPN Chattanooga when I was part of Stump Martin's gang down there, and then at WAAK down in Ringgold. But hi, Cindy. But there have been some iconic, and I'm going to use the term characters, that have been on talk radio in Chattanooga. And eventually we're going to get down to the Rushmore of those folks. Remember, the first thing I ever remember, and you can't really call it talk radio, Sunday morning, Earl Friedenberg had Hey Earl. I think it was on WDOD. It was kind of like what the Chattanoogan is now, and what Roy Exum does over there, the Lookout Mountain elitist who can't seem to put the old antebellum South away and realize it's 2020. But Earl Friedenberg is in the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame, an outstanding newsman. But he had his thing going, Hey Earl. And it came about organically. People would call in and say, Hey Earl. Easy enough. Ernie Fagans at the old WDEF AM 1370 back in the day, before you were saturated on Saturday with college football. Diane, that's one of the things about me. As long as I was involved and still involved in sports, I really don't sit around watching games. I generally try to find something, a movie or something else to watch. Although I have been very, very curious with Jeremy Pruitt because he's walking around looking like this, the great Cornholio. But, you know, Tennessee is just, it could be worse. You could be Florida State. But when we first started getting what is really talk radio, you had Max Hackett, who was tremendous. Max was, and he was off the wall. He had his demons, just like the late Parker Smith, who had his demons, and I replaced him on a show at 102.3 that he called Bar Talk, and he just quit on the air one night. A few days later, the phone rings, and it's Christy Clark. Hey, you want to come in and replace Parker? And we'll rename the show and start calling it Happy Hour. About a year went well. Pirate Run. It was Oyo Ranch over at Moccasin Bend. I think that was when it was still when Herb Adcock's on the station. But Dale Deason, who you hear on commercials for the barn, and Kelly Subaru kind of transitioned from Top 40 radio, and he did a short stint talk radio at the old 102.3. But there are really, and now you've got ESPN Chattanooga with their only really, because I don't count that Bill Lee butt kisser Weston Wamp as much. Their local programming is Press Row from 3 to 6. That's it. They used to do a high school football game of the week. I don't know if they're doing it this year because of COVID or whatever, but that's the extent of their local programming is Press Row with Jay Greason and David Pascal of the Chattanooga Times Free Press. And it's not a bad show. They delve too deeply into statistics, which are, to a certain extent, if given in small doses, statistics are all right. But they're not freaking entertaining. And your job on radio is to entertain. And if you go overboard with statistics, your entire audience will begin suffering from narcolepsy. So you have WGOW AM 1150, which is, what can I say? It is extreme right-wing. It's the home of Rush Limbaugh. And Rush Limbaugh is, like him or not, is the catalyst for the national explosion in talk radio. And now we have the relative newcomer in town. There's my buddy Susan. We share the same last name. What can I say? But we're not related. But we are old Hickson High School classmates. And Susan, remember this. The campaign is underway. Representative Carter, you've got competition, and it's me. Let's put another Hickson High alum in office that actually does something for the people. Mayor Coppinger actually did something for the people in extending the mask mandate. The other Hickson High alum, Robin Smith, hasn't done shit. This Hickson alum will do it. Love you too. But Rush Limbaugh is the godfather nationally of talk radio. But the newcomer, Nougat Radio 92.7, they are my go-to in the mornings. When they added Jeff Styles, that them an ass and them a cunt. No matter what, the way Cumulus handled Jeff Styles is a travesty. They should have waited until his case was adjudicated. Then if he was found guilty, fire him. But they fired him beforehand because there have been other instances of radio television people being arrested but not losing their jobs. Styles lost his. Brian Stone lost his. Now they're both at Nougat Radio. Jeff Styles from 7 to 10, Monday through Friday, along with my buddy Jen Lambert, Russ Stroud, and Jason Kirk. That is your go-to morning show. Over at 102.3, where I was at for gazillion years as a listener. You still have Jim Reynolds, who I consider a friend. Not a close friend. The difference between a friend and a close friend, a friend will tell you hi, but if you need bail money, they'll tell you to go screw yourself. A close friend will do what they can to bail you out of jail. Been there, done that. It's because they do things different in Georgia. I had no clue my license was suspended for an unpaid traffic ticket in Tennessee. In Georgia, they take you to jail for a suspended license. In Tennessee, 99% of the time, they're going to write you a ticket. Unless you're a jackwagon, then there's another charge, then they take you to jail. So I've been arrested, but I wasn't in just busted, and Chattanooga is making for buffering tonight. I do apologize. But now over at 102.3, you have Brian Joyce as the lead in the morning. And Brian is a nice guy. Really is a nice guy. But in the South, it's hard for his shtick to play because he is from Massachusetts. And he is very liberal. In this area, I feel like Johnny Carson. How many of you remember The Tonight Show? Everybody remembers the Tonight Show. And Johnny smoked. Smoke. If you know what brand of cigarette Johnny Carson smoked, you win a dollar bill, because I think I got one in my pocket. Yeah. You win that if you know what brand of cigarette Johnny Carson smoked. You have until the end of the show. And everybody knows I try to cut it off after 40 minutes. But Brian is a good guy. I've met and talked to him several times because he is a huge Lookouts fan, because he played college baseball at Davidson. And you know, but the ratings are dropping. Nooga Radio's ratings, last reporting, are going up. And a lot of that has to do with they are heavily local, because realistically, what happened is when Jeff Styles was let go at 102.3, they moved Brian Joyce to morning. And then they brought in some guy who plays headbanger music at KZ106, Brad Giesa, to do 10 to noon. That is a snooze fest, a literal snooze fest. Talk Radio 102.3 is basic, nothing more than dead air from 10 to 3. With all respect to Jim Place and his daughter Jamie with Let's Talk Money. But right now, I really don't know. I really don't care to hear about how to invest my money. There are more important things in the world right now than how to invest your money. So dead air between 10 and 3. And then the whole world changes at 3 o'clock. But Nooga Radio, after Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, after Jeff goes off the air at 10, then for an hour, you get Brian Stone with Stone on Air, the podcast king of Chattanooga. And that's not what he smoked, Cindy. Got to think this. It had a white filter. And I don't think this cigarette is even on the market anymore. I don't think it's even on the market anymore. But Keon Rose is their sports director over there. And he does a credible job. He does a credible job. He does not spend a whole lot of time on anything local. The local high schools, Mox coverage. He doesn't do very much, if anything, on that. And that's where they're missing the boat. Now, up until COVID, they did have the guys from Scenic City Sports coming in on a couple of days a week doing a show. But when COVID hit, that was hard to pull off, and it's just tough. But they're lacking a little bit in their local sports coverage. They have some guy, Keon and some other guy, are on there on Saturday morning. Now, that is the home of Pat Rose and Set the Hook in Chattanooga. Then at 1 o'clock, you get Chattanooga's favorite whack job, David Toulis, and the Toulouse report, where it's been all COVID all the time since February. And it's been, you don't have any constitutional authority to make us wear what he calls chin diapers. Spelled Pallmall, 2 words. And you would think by looking at it, it's Pall Mall. But you can go on YouTube and you can find the old commercials, and it's actually Pall Mall. And God knows, I know he smoked Kent's is what I was thinking of, Cindy. He may have smoked Pall Mall non-filters because, oh my God, I had an uncle that smoked Camel non-filters. For a long time, my mother smoked Raleigh non-filters because she could get the coupons. That way she got a new garden hose every year. Raleigh coupons and S&H green stamps. What the hell? Cindy, I owe you $1. You'll have to come and collect it. But I was thinking Kent. But all in all, Nooga Radio is doing a pretty good job. But 102.3 kicks it up again at 3 o'clock when Sport Talk comes on the air. And that's where 2 members of the Chattanooga Talk Radio Rushmore are from. Music man Jerry Haskew and the late, great Gary Haskew, Dr. B. There's 2 of them. 2 members of the Rushmore of local talk radio. Still got 3. We still got 4. Now, WAAK down in Ringgold, it's gone to hell in a handbasket because you've got some conspiracy nut doing a morning show down there by the name of Black Dog. Their only saving grace, and that's for the Catoosa County people who actually listen to Ringgold High School football. I mean, even when WFLI came back on the air, they tried a talk format, and Evan Stone and Marshall Bandy realized to make WFLI succeed, they had to go back to exactly what worked in the past, and that was top 40 radio. And now they do it on AM and FM, and I spend a lot of time when I want to listen to music in the car, I put it on 97.7 WFLI or WUUQ for country music. Because I don't want to hear that garbage they play on US 101. I want to hear real country music. But those other 2 spots in the Chattanooga Rushmore of talk radio, they're tough. One's really not so tough because I've already mentioned his name. He was at WGOW for I don't know how many years, but he's been on air in Chattanooga now 30 years. Is what I'm thinking. And in fact, I was there with him when he first got to talk radio, and it was the day of the election, Bill Clinton versus George H.W. Bush. And C-SPAN brought their cameras to WGOW and televised Jeff nationally for the Chattanooga take on that day's election. And I was sent by the Clinton Gore campaign. Yes, I did not vote for the re-election of George H.W. Bush. I voted for him when he ran against Dukakis, but I liked Bill Clinton. Scummy man, piece of crap as a human being, but he did a pretty good job. Just my opinion. And that was my first exposure to talk radio. So slot number 3 goes to Jeff Styles on the Rushmore of local talk radio. Now the 4th one. And I don't know. This one, I don't know how you're going to chisel it on the Rushmore, because it's a group of people. It's a group of people. And that is a show that changed the way high school football is covered. Not only Syria, but now there are duplicates all over America. There are clones of this show that started it all. Spot number 4 goes to the Coca-Cola Red Zone. Now, I know that's going to make Jeff Cade happy, but if you think about it, what Scott Earthquake McMahon started. First, it was the Pepsi press box for 1 year. And this was right when cell phones were starting to become more commonplace when this show first started. And the whole concept was to, for 3 hours, have people calling in and giving reports on a game that they were at. First year, I was the Saudi Daisy guy, because that's when Bill Price was the coach at Saudi Daisy, and gosh almighty, were they good. In fact, I was there the night that Coach Tom Weathers was arrested. The first you heard about Coach Tom Weathers being arrested by the Saudi Daisy police or being handcuffed. He was never arrested, but they knocked him down and put him in cuffs. The first any Chattanoogans heard about it was on the Coca-Cola Red Zone, and I was there on the field when it was happening. Then the concept came up of the game of the week. Got a sponsor, Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Bob Neville. And the show exploded from the start. People like Doc Hollywood calling in from Bradley, Sean from East Ridge, and you had that cast of characters. You had Quake, you had Wally Witkowski, the late great Tom Bolden, who he and Jim Reynolds for 1 hour every day of the week with the Village Idiots was priceless. And Tom, whatever you want to call him, he actually did stutter. And he couldn't say Vietnamese. It was always Vietnamese. But he was a great guy, and he's missed to this day. But what Scott McMahon, joined later by Cowboy Joe Varner, who's been on here with us talking about the Chattanooga Burger Tour. When I left, I think I was there for 13 seasons, and I was replaced by Jeff Cate, who has become the sideline reporter in Chattanooga. Radio, television, it doesn't matter. Jeff is the man. Plus, his dad's my spotter at the Mox games. Pretty good stuff. His dad is the best spotter in the business. But that's your Chattanooga Rushmore of local talk radio. 3 individuals. To the far, far left on that Rushmore in the same spot as George Washington is Gary Haskew. And Jerry Haskew. Then Jeff Styles. And then the cast of characters that makes up the Coca-Cola Red Zone every Friday night on WGOW Talk Radio 102.3. It was a baptism under fire when I was there. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. I left there and went and tried to do something very similar, and it just didn't work at the original ESPN. And I took the name of the old Ernie Fagan show, and that's what I used for mine. I was the last host of WDEF's Hold That Line. But that's your Rushmore. The Haskew brothers, Jeff Styles, and the Coca-Cola Red Zone. That is your Rushmore of local talk radio. Chime in if you disagree. Say, what the heck? I'm pretty close to it, Ron. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Other than that, folks, please stay dry. Stay safe, because all indications is that it's going to get kind of hairy tonight. So stay safe, stay dry. Kick back, find something on television if you want to watch football. I know Alabama and Ole Miss have already started. Find something on television to watch, pop in a movie, or spend time with somebody you give a damn about, But until Monday night at 7 o'clock, that's it. That's a wrap for tonight's Jump Into the Fire. Don't forget, think about it. Nobody should be allowed to run unopposed. Until Monday night at 7 o'clock, thanks to everybody. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kim. And I have neglected seeing who's chiming in each time, but thanks to each and every one of you. You humble me every time I'm out here. Go make it a good weekend, what's left of it. And remember, as always, be kind to each other. See you soon.
That's all, folks.